The end of 2025 was supposed to be a time for diplomacy, with high-level talks underway between Washington, Kiev, and Moscow. The world held its breath for a potential ceasefire. But on the night of December 28, the narrative abruptly changed. The Kremlin released a statement that shocked the international community. A massive attack with a swarm of 91 drones had targeted President Vladimir Putin's private residence in Valdai. Moscow called it a decapitation attack. Kiev called it a hallucination. And here's the question we must ask ourselves today. If a state claims to have survived a massive assassination attempt but fails to produce a single photograph of the rubble, are we witnessing a military event or the launch of a calculated pretext for the next phase of the war? What do you think? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for future updates. On Monday morning, Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov appeared before the press with a grim expression. According to the official Russian narrative, the Ukrainian armed forces launched a coordinated strike using long-range suicide drones. The target was the Valdai residence, a sprawling, highly secretive estate located in the Novgorod region, halfway between Moscow and St. Petersburg. Russian officials claimed that the attack was unprecedented in scale. They reported that 91 drones were launched from various points across the Ukrainian border, flying over 400 miles deep into Russian territory. The Russian Ministry of Defense insists that every single one of these drones was intercepted by the layered air defense systems protecting the president. The rhetoric followed immediately. Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov declared that this terrorist act was planned with Western intelligence participation and that Russia now reserves the right to respond with any means necessary, including targeting decision-making centers in Kiev that have so far been spared. But as the hours passed, the world waited for the images. We waited for the smoke. We waited for the debris. And so far, there is nothing. To understand why this accusation is being met with such skepticism, we have to look at the physics of the claim. A swarm of 91 drones is not a small operation. It is a massive logistical undertaking. For 91 drones to fly 600 kilometers through Russian airspace, they would have to bypass some of the most sophisticated radar networks on the planet. Even if Russian air defenses like the S-400 and the Pantsir S-1 are as effective as Moscow claims, the kinetic interception of nearly 100 drones would create a spectacle. When a drone is hit by a surface-to-air missile, there is a secondary explosion. There is fire. There is a debris field that can stretch for miles. In previous Ukrainian strikes, actual documented strikes on Russian oil refineries or air bases, the evidence is immediate. Local residents film the explosions on their smartphones. Social media lights up with "What was that bang?" or "Look at the fire in the distance." In the case of the Valdai attack, the Novgorod region remained eerily quiet. There are no reports from local telegram channels of loud noises. There are no videos of anti-aircraft fire lighting up the night sky. The 91 drone swarm appears to have been silent, invisible, and entirely weightless. Independent open-source OINT researchers have spent the last 48 hours scouring satellite imagery and thermal data. Groups like Maxar and Planet Labs provide high-resolution images that can detect even small charred patches on the ground. As of this broadcast, satellite passes over the Valdai residence show no signs of fire, no scorched earth, and no movement of emergency vehicles that would typically follow a massive attack. Furthermore, NASA's FIRMS Fire Information for Resource Management System, which tracks thermal anomalies globally, showed no heat signatures in the vicinity of the presidential residence during the time frame of the alleged strike. If 91 drones, each carrying several kilograms of explosives, were shot down over a specific area, the heat signature would be unmistakable. The lack of this data leads military analysts to a singular, uncomfortable conclusion. The attack, as described by the Kremlin, simply did not happen. In Kiev, the reaction has been a mix of derision and alarm. President Volodymyr Zelensky's office issued a brief statement. "We do not waste our limited long-range resources on ghosts. Our targets are military logistics and energy infrastructure, not forests in Novgorod." Ukrainian intelligence officials suggest that this is a classic false flag, or perhaps even a virtual flag. In a traditional false flag, a state might blow up its own building to blame an enemy. In a virtual flag, you don't even need to blow anything up. You simply use the state-controlled media apparatus to insist that an attack happened and was successfully thwarted. By thwarting a massive attack, the Kremlin achieves two goals. One, domestic strength. It portrays the Russian air defense as invincible and Putin as a protected, providential leader. Two, geopolitical leverage. It paints Ukraine as an uncontrollable aggressor to the international community, specifically targeting the skepticism of Western taxpayers. Why now? To answer that, we have to look at the calendar. It is late December 2025. The global community is pushing for a freeze of the conflict. Recent reports suggested that the new US administration had made progress in convincing both sides to accept a demilitarized zone. Peace, however, is a threat to those whose power depends on a state of perpetual war. If the Kremlin is not ready to settle for the current front lines, they need a reason to walk away from the table. An assassination attempt on the head of state is the ultimate red line. It provides a moral and legal excuse for Moscow to escalate the conflict, perhaps launching a new mobilization or a winter offensive, while claiming they are merely defending their sovereignty. The danger of this evidence-free accusation is that it creates a justification for real-world violence. Within hours of the Valdai announcement, Russian mill bloggers, the influential nationalist commentators on Telegram, began calling for Judgment Day strikes on Kiev. If Moscow convinces its population that Putin was targeted, the domestic pressure for a massive response becomes overwhelming. We have seen this pattern before. Small, unverified incidents are often the prologue to massive missile barrages against Ukrainian civilian infrastructure. By claiming the Valdai strike was thwarted, the Kremlin gets to play the victim without having to deal with the actual damage of a strike. It is a low-cost, high-reward strategy for a regime that is currently feeling the pressure of economic sanctions and a stagnating front line. As journalists and analysts, our role is to demand proof. In the era of deepfakes and state-sponsored disinformation, official statements are no longer sufficient. When a government claims 91 drones were downed, we must ask, where are the engines? Where are the wings? Where are the serial numbers? During the 2023 drone incident at the Kremlin Dome, there was video. It was clear, it was verified, and it was analyzed by experts worldwide. The 2025 Valdai incident lacks even 1% of that transparency. The international community, including neutral parties like India and China, have remained notably silent on the matter. Without evidence, the Kremlin's narrative is struggling to gain traction outside of its own borders. But inside Russia, the story is being repeated 24/7, building a psychological foundation for whatever comes next. In conclusion, the Valdai incident stands as a masterclass in modern information warfare. It is an attack that exists entirely in the medium of words and press releases. As of right now, there is no evidence, visual, thermal, or acoustic, that 91 drones ever approached the residence of Vladimir Putin. What we have instead is a high-stakes political gamble. By creating a phantom threat, Moscow is attempting to seize the initiative in a diplomatic game that was starting to move against them. The world must remain vigilant. When the truth becomes a casualty of war, the next casualty is often a massive escalation in human lives. We will continue to monitor the satellite feeds. We will continue to listen for the voices of those on the ground. Until then, the Valdai attack remains a ghost. Thank you for joining us for this special report on Global Briefing. We live in an age where the line between reality and propaganda is thinner than ever. Our goal is to provide the analysis you need to see through the fog. Before you go, we want to hear from you in the comments. Do you believe that in 2025, a nation can still successfully stage a virtual attack without being caught? Or is the lack of evidence simply a sign of how effectively the Kremlin can control information within its borders? Let's start a conversation. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to Global Briefing for more deep dive analyses into the stories shaping our world. I'm your host, and this was your Global Briefing. See you in the next report.